Welcome to the unpopular opinion.
On the unpopular opinion, we have
We have
author of
author of
Surviving Tough
Surviving Tough
Times
Times
and
and
Stay
Stay
Faithful,
Faithful,
entrepreneur and
entrepreneur and
Mrs.
Mrs.
Melody
Melody
Tatiana,
Tatiana,
owner of
owner
Mental
of Mental
Massage
Massage
Melinda,
Melinda,
your host
your host
Stradivari
Stradivari,
on the
on the
unpopular opinion.
unpopular opinion.
So let me
So let
ask
me
you
ask
though,
you though,
we're going to
we're
talk
going to
about the
talk about the
Shakari
Shikari
Richardson and
Richardson
the
and the
Olympic
Olympic
equality
equality
of
of
Olympic
Olympic
sports. Real
sports.
quick,
Real
Stevie.
quick, Stevie. Well, you know the narrative of today: equality amongst women and the Olympics. Well, the Shikari Richardson story. You guys know about this story? I'm pretty sure you do. It's another story that I've already talked about furthermore. We're talking about equality amongst women and the Olympic sport. So, what do you ladies think about tonight's show and the equalities amongst women? Let's talk a little bit on the unpopular opinion. So, what's going on, ladies? What you guys think about what's happening in this world today in the Olympics and how they doing? Miss Richardson. What do you think over there, Miss Tatiana? What's going on with you?
Um, so when I first heard about it, I had to do like some background check on it. And considering that like they know the country that it came from, I call it privilege. Of course, they're gonna try to make every single account or incident that happens be separate and be like, this is why it's different. But it's crazy that she's even allowed to still compete, that they never checked her testing. And if she wins, they don't even have a medal ceremony. So the other people that win anything don't get to have a ceremony. So I feel like across the board, they need to make some type of changes. I don't care what they're talking about ages and all this, because teenagers definitely go up against adults. And how is this even fair? Um, I feel like it shows another double standard, and just how they'll use their certain rules to bend to make sure that they win.
What about you, Miss Melinda, on this one?
I feel like there are obvious discrepancies in the way that people are treated. So, um, while I might think that uh, the substances in question for Shakari Richardson and the Russian skater are fundamentally different, I need to do more research there. The reality of the fact is, things are just always treated differently. In fact, I read an article that was so understanding and loving and embracing and forgiving and just sympathetic to how distraught the Russian skater was. And what I actually thought about was Simone Biles, and who is, I mean, she is the undisputed goat, right? Of gymnastics. And there were so many people who had so much negative stuff to say about her, just not competing and whether or not there could be any mental illness. No one was treating her like the sweetheart that was just broken and, oh my god, how could this possibly happen, because she was going to be targeted to get the gold, which she was. Right, because there's nobody who has done anything in the Olympics like her. That's what I thought about. Right. And so, yeah, it's just a lot of discrepancy. That's all I would have to say. It's obvious differences.
Oh wow, okay. I see where you guys are at with this. Well, my understanding is the equalities amongst us. So I want to put this into perspective of as our equalities and our inequalities and how we actually are treated. If you notice in the background, you notice the 1970, 1937, 1936 Olympics when it comes to the Germans and the Aryan race are supposed to be superior amongst men. And they found out that they are not the superior race in that year or that era. And if you notice, they've never been superior. The only superiority is the melanated man. So I wanted to just see how this equality is now changed into 2022, where the woman has basically been ostracized for basically going through some pain in a state that she actually used this drug, which was legal. How can it actually be illegal when it comes to an actual, you know, Olympics? Because Olympics, they, a lot of things get tested, and this one thing should not be on the testing board, period, because it proves that it's not a drug that's going to enhance your, your actual abilities, but might actually heal your body towards, wounds, or maybe keep you from having certain pains that you shouldn't have. So I'm trying to figure out what is the philosophy on her side towards the side of an actual country that does a lot of doping. They even had to change the name of their country to even enter into the Olympics. So how can you commonly fight for a person that basically got into this Olympics, but yet this same thing happened to us and we were ostracized and not even being able to even compete? So I want to be able to say, I'm gonna stop saying one person should stop fighting for something, and actually, it's need to be a us thing. And ladies, if you want to have some equality, you can't just actually let this stuff happen anymore. So how can we actually change the common law of how they're treating us, and they're not giving us the balance? So how do you change the balance, ladies? What is the perception of changing this equality and inequality? What about you, Miss Melinda?
I think that's a loaded question that we could talk about for centuries, but the quote unquote inequality, I think is what you're talking about. The inequality is pervasive and frankly um, designed in structurally. So I don't, it's super complicated. I'm not quite sure that there is any quick fix, but I know this is unrelated to what you're talking about, but it's also in my mind because someone just said that this child looks like my son. There's another video of two children, right, young boys fighting that's going around, this viral. I haven't seen the video of the mother and the child, and you see the beginning of the fight or the confrontation, and you see the police walk up and they literally roughhouse and put a knee onto the back of the black kid. It's a black kid and a white kid fighting, and they literally do nothing to the white kid. So my point in all that is it's just all structural, right? So I don't know how you necessarily just wave a wand and fix any of this, but certainly history shows that there are some policies that can address structural um, designed in issues, but then the structural issues are exacted by people. So how do you change people and their biases? I don't know, frankly.
It's got to be a way. This can't keep happening. What about you, Miss Tatiana?
I think about like ending where Miss Melinda says, talking about like the fight. Um, Something that I've learned, and I guess this is like part of the structural thing, that people of color have always been stronger, not in the sense that they're stronger than can do more, but they can take more pain, they can do more other things. So when you're talking about equality of things, that doesn't really register to some people because they're like, oh, you can do this. Like Ms. Melinda said, you can think start things with people's infrastructure, but you're always going to have that thought process with people's head. I'll take it to somewhere that's outside this conversation, like nurses that I've met that are advocates for color women. They like tell you this, tell you that, so to tell you things so that they'll give you care that you're supposed to have. It's almost like you're fighting for your will of life. We're not even talking about competition. Um, Even down to Simone and mental health. You know what I mean? We're talking about the actual structure of what they think of a certain type of person that happens to be of color. Like until that is broken down and it's understand that from person to person you are different and your skin color just happens to be something attached to that, I think it's going to be a hard time. And we'll be having that conversation forever trying to break down it in the courthouses, break down it within school districts. You think your job where we make less money. So when you get all the way to the Olympics, all of those things that we're talking about make it there. And to you're like, we got to change. Yeah, it has to be us, but there has to be other people that have to be like, I see my privilege, I know it, and need to adjust for it. But the selfishness of people, or actually having that privilege, will probably stop people from moving forward with it. So when you ask how we're gonna fix it, where do you start?
Well, I mean, technically, you got to start with us. We got to start somewhere. We just can't leave it like it is. We got to, every time there is some type of discussion, like we can't let this Miss Richardson just fight it on her own. It has to be a mass amount of people actually putting up a little hoopla about this. Like I'm actually tired of it because it happens in all sports. I mean, let's look at everything. Let's look at how the world is actually go around, that we're doing so many things and we're like the MVP of most of the games, and look how we're treated and how we're talked to, and just their mannerisms. Like this has, to me, it has to change on how you actually have an infrastructure on treatment, on how you're thinking, your thought process on life. What is this total thing got to change? So yeah, go ahead, Miss Melinda. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the only way to affect things really in this country is to affect finances. And so, I mean, like you said, it's pervasive. I want to be really, really clear that I do not agree that Black people or people of color can take more pain. I mean, I think maybe Miss Tatiana was saying that's the way people think.
Right, of course.
Yeah, that is such a gross and unfortunately pervasive way of thinking, that Black women die more often than anyone else going into an emergency room and giving birth because of that. Literally are denied pain medications because that's literally treating Black people like animals again, right? And so, like it was done during slavery. So I just want to be really clear that that's ridiculous, and that's just another way. But everything is money, right? I mean, I was flabbergasted at the coach, who I don't remember his name, who filed the case, took the L, to your point, right? So we got to do something. The Black coach who took the L and filed the case against the NFL because of the discrimination in coaches, I think it was. I think it's coaches. And he had the text to show it. And what, about 3 or 4 or 5 days later, everybody's watching the Super Bowl, and that ain't even come up. So what you have to do is hold your dollars, because your dollars in this country equate to your power. So you have to stop patronizing wholesale things. I mean, obviously, to your point, I think the statistic is that 70% of the NFL is Black. It might even be more, but I think it's 70. If 70% of the people walked off the field, even just for a day, like we used to do, remember that whole thing? Even if you just did it for a day, just one day, what type of impact would that show? So it has to be something like that. And yes, on the consumer side, we have a big part in that too. We have to categorically boycott some shit like we used to. Like, I don't care how much you like it. It's a bigger issue here. But as long as it's all mouth service and, oh my God, dang, that's a trip. Let me turn on my show and watch the same thing. Let me go patronize my store and pay the same people my money. Then, of course, why would, I mean, there's no forcing function for anything to change. I mean, to me, the NFL piece was just was astonishing. That case and that story broke. It wasn't even a month. It wasn't even 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. And it never, no one I talked to about the Super Bowl brought that up.
Which is very amazing, because the simple fact that the quality of the coaches actually getting hired is a lot different. And actually, zero owners ever in the existence of the history of NFL has ever been a majority of our descendants' skin color has ever happened. So it is kind of, it makes it unjust how the coaches of mostly like the Deion Sanders and the Jerry Rices and all of the great players actually know the game and actually can teach other kids how to play the game aren't given the opportunities that somebody that can't even play at all, that was probably a scrub most of the. I mean, I can't even. I looked at most of the coaches. Some of them were good, but I've never seen a superstar coach like a Joe Montana or John Elway actually coach a team. They might be the owner or a team or a GM, but actually legitimately put their heads together and say, "I'm a coach a team." So it shows a different aspect of how we're looked at, and that's my problem too. It's just how their perspective on how we're looked at all the time. And when you come about finances, I think we need to change the game now. Like, instead of talking with our mouths, we actually need to show our money or actually put our money together to build a much bigger empire that's overcoming us. Because if we have nothing to overcome with, that's a problem too. So, I mean, it's been so much that's been ripped and taken from us. How do we piece these things together to build a better bond? Because we got to get this together. This is a point where I'm tired of like talking about it, but actually there's action. This has to be action. Like, has to be the time of all putting our minds together and legitimately coming together. Some type of financial, you know, gap has to be kind of pulled together in some type of way where we actually come along to benefiting, because the politics right now, we I could say right now, when I go outside and I see a speed camera box up and I'm like, oh, I didn't vote for this. How did these boxes get here? Where's this money going? A lot of things are really unseen on how they're actually doing things without our, actual say so. So since they're doing that, why spend my money? Why give my tax money? Why vote for you when you do nothing for me? I don't need that. You're like wasting my time and hurting my pockets. This inflation is ridiculous. Everything has gone up. It doesn't make sense on how we're not fighting about it, talking about it, or just like Melinda said, put a stop to it, put your foot down and just don't go, just don't do it. But I also do have to change a little bit on that, like the Olympics. I think it's more of a we have to totally take over it. Like, we can't, no one can win. First, second, and third has to be both, all the places, just us in every country, our complexion, and just rule a whole entire Olympics with just us. That's what I'm thinking in every tricathlon event. But that's just me overtaking, overmount, over consuming everything. We have to do it. So you're saying with commodity and money, I'm saying just an overall takeover, just overall thinking on how we have to do this without people just totally breaking us down. So
How is that going to change the system of the Olympics? That's like the Grammys and everything else. So when the system itself is designed, I mean, isn't that football and basketball? Like, wasn't it like all black? But it didn't matter because you were the low person on the totem pole. It's entertainment. I pay you a lot of money, but it's pennies compared to what I make off you, and you have nothing to say. What do they say? Shut up and dribble, right? To LeBron. So I don't care how good you are. If you don't own the establishment, the institution, you are a pawn.
okay,
And just to get to, I want to agree with something Miss Tatiana said and build on a little bit to go back to that Super Bowl. It reminded me of taking the knee, of course. And there was more discussion about Eminem maybe taking a knee because he might not have been taking a knee for that, right? It was a little ambiguous. Okay, he said he was going to do it, but then people were like, well, he was taking that knee for Tupac because Dre was bringing in the song. It was not even, it was ambiguous even, but it was more discussion about that, right, than it was, again, about the actual issue of why Colin Kaepernick took a knee in the first place.
Okay.
At this game. So, well, while I agree that we have to do stuff, these systems are the way that they are. So you do need to have some people who are privileged. So if Eminem was going to say, I'm going to do this because I'm going to advocate, I'm going to use my privilege, my ability to move differently than the people I walk around with, then good, because that's how it has to be. I mean, when we came out of slavery. I always talk about this. White abolitionists put their lives on the line along with the people who are escaping in the Underground Railroad. I said this when Black Lives Matter and all this stuff happened. And people at that time, it was like a question. White people were like, how can I, be an advocate and how can I help? And that's when this concept of it's not enough to not be racist, you have to be anti-racist came, right? I say, this is what I said. If you would have talked to me 2 years ago, right? This is what I say. I say you have to put your very life, soul, and livelihood on the line to change something. I don't need you handing me water while I'm protesting. I don't need you standing next to me while I'm protesting. That's fine. What I need you to do is go talk to your brothers, your uncles, your granddaddies, your whomevers. And I need you to go change things that are written in policy. I need you to literally go against things. I need you to make tangible, substantive changes. That is going to require sacrifice for you. You're going to lose some favor and some face with your family. But that's what you can do for me. And if it doesn't work, if you're not doing something that really pushes that envelope, then to me, it's just, and that's what is necessary because these are the systems that your people built. So if you want to change them, then change them. Don't talk about
it. This is a pressure point. And it's a pressure point because, just thinking about, futuristic, they never said in the future that it's still going to be the same as it was before. Why is it like this? What is the capabilities of giving each other love if there's really no love? Like I'm not feeling this right now. Not feeling the approach that we're taking and the approach that we're actually giving too, because things are given to us, but we're not actually taking it. And that's my problem too. Like we got to stop with they said they did this and just say, you're in the wrong position, you lose your job. Like if a judge, there's been so many decades of judges actually choosing the ladder of the case because of another person interrupting or intervening, or the cops have actually pretty much screwed the whole case up. Any type of interaction, that judge shouldn't be a judge anymore. It just stop the whole playful game of the one-time thing. Just anytime this happens, it's a long road of these things. Why are these people actually a part of the justice system? Like the whole thing is a sham. Like I've never seen nothing actually going for us in this point. So if it's not going for us, how do we just not actually be a part of it, period? Like how do we actually stop the whole hoopla, stop interacting, just do our own thing, which we're actually benefiting from our own profits instead of giving out profits? It has to be some type of norm to that. Even if we have these things, my problem is they always find some way to kind of interrupt it, get in front of it, and that's my problem too. So I have a whole big thing on it. We have a big discussion on that. But when it comes to a bigger universe on what we're trying to make it, how do we change your universe other than not worrying about what we see, but actually doing something to better ourselves in this approach? What about you, Miss Tatiana, on what can you do to better yourself in this situation since all these things are happening to Miss Richardson?
On a small point, like I guess a small end for like singular me is it's supporting my local black businesses, local businesses that support black people and what the design is. On a higher level, it's more of trying to find a group that agrees with what you agree with to do it. Like Sam and Melinda said, like it's obvious that somebody else has to advocate in front of us for the sacrifice that we already have to take, that we didn't even offer up for, we didn't even settle up for. So I think until like your friends are doing it, like I know I've lost friends over the last couple of years over situations because they don't believe in the same thing I believe in. There's like this white lady Let me make it explainable. This white lady says, "Would you be okay with being treated the way that black people are being treated?" And it was like a room full of white people. No, stand up. And she was like, "Okay, I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. If you be okay with being treated the way black people are being treated, stand up." She was like, "So nobody gonna stand up?" She was like, "So why is it all right for everybody else to be treated like that?" It's literally like you gotta call people out and set people up to say it every single time when you're not getting it. And like Miss Melinda said, stand strong on your word. No longer support those. No longer do that. I mean, I know there's some aspects that we can't do that, but I'm sure in very many other ways you can definitely do that. Here where I live at, we have people that are starting their own little farmlands, teaching people how to farm so they don't, have to go to the store as much. Um, Teaching how to sew, things of that nature to get away from big businesses that are claiming it. But it's literally going to be a bunch of small little tactics that you do daily and then add to big ones that are people doing in order for it to happen. Because as Ms. Melinda said, we all know the system is working just the way that they planned it to work.
I like how y'all going into this. So I want to go ahead and segue on that. What type of small money tactics are you actually trying to do? I love doing this because we all have something in common. So I love actually segueing myself into saying, what do you actually have that's small that's bringing yourself and bringing your contact with your money? What are you doing? What's segueing you into building a better you in order for these things not to happen to you, Miss Melinda? How you building yourself up?
Well, again, I want to make a clarification. So, even buying into the way the current money system works, in my opinion, is buying into a system that was designed for me and people who come from the line of people I come from not to win. But a part of playing chess, not checkers, in this world and in this kind of country and with this background is figuring out how to have mobility, how to be able to move. And so having finances help you do that. So not being left behind in things like cryptocurrency, NFTs is very important to me right now. One of the things that we oftentimes know nothing about is the tax game. And of course, and I just read another article that said that Biden this week or next week is going to move on passing legislation on crypto, which is, of course, not ever good. um, and so, folks who've been in cryptocurrency for the last 10 years have benefited greatly from it not being able to, frankly, be taxed, right? And we, by and large, haven't even participated in it. So I am definitely right now trying to make sure I get up to snuff. I am definitely a part of the Autobot trading community and welcome anybody to join it. I'm going to actually post that under Fierce Finances on mentalmassagewellness.com because that thing is working. It is trading the way that banks have always traded or have traded for the last in the most recent modern history with a computer, but now people can do it. And so that is a piece. I am taking advantage of all the insurances, the loopholes of the ways that you can use insurance vehicles and business, right? Creating businesses and understanding how you can operate through a business to make sure you are getting all the tax credits you can get there. And teaching my child about business, profit and loss, right? And about how oftentimes the typical system will set you up for debt, whether it's student loan debt to go get these degrees that, that doesn't matter when you are walking down the street and the police come up. They don't care if you have a degree. We have many examples of that, all the way to just, knowing your value and your worth, right? And we talked about that. Like we have so many talents, but we don't demand our value and our worth a lot of times. So that's definitely a part of the conversation I have with my son. So for me, it's those individual things. And I just also want to agree with Tatiana on groups are made of individuals. So for me, it's important to find the individuals who resonate with you. I find that this conversation is ongoing and never ending because there is not a particular set of kind of principles that is that is universally held, right? So nobody wants to be treated bad, right? But there are not enough of we are not on the same page enough to do the same thing to not be treated bad, because people will then feel like, no, well, I rugged individualism, right, better than collectivism. That's our mentality. That's our mental illness. um I am going to not be treated bad if I blend in, fit in, meld in. So you have that mentality that you're contending with all the time. So then that destroys the collective, that weakens the numbers, that weakens the power. So for me, it's important for me to find people who are on the same page with me. And there I have a lot of friends that are moving to Africa.
So you mean to tell me they're coming up with a whole nother concept of moving out of the country? Why run?
Why is that running?
Or do you still have establishment here, places here, or you just totally cutting your losses and going after?
I don't know if it's called cutting your losses. Like if I wanted to move to Africa, I could move to Africa.
This is our land, though. We
As,
were
as,
here
as is Africa.
as in every continent technically was our land first. Why would we have to go anywhere?
It's
Why do
not
we?
You
about
don't have to, but you
that's
could also spend the rest of your life
but
fighting.
that's what Miss Melinda's talking about, having groups of people that believe in the same thing. And if your belief is that strong, you're going to go in that direction. Like, imagine you and your family, and it's like, when we say family, like, I know I think small, like my family's not as big, closer, but there's some people got a bunch of cousins, family, and they're really working together, and they're like, hey, let's go to Africa. 20 of y'all go, not even 20, 10, and then they send for people. The amount of money that they can make, the investments that they're given, the opportunity that's open because everything that you're going to be doing. Now, I also say this, there are people who are not going to Africa, like Miss Melinda said. There are people that I know that Black have moved up and they've gone to a whole nother country, and it's been like New Zealand and Britain, and they found that those people have the same beliefs that they have. So when they go there, they're treated well. And that's a better feeling for them, because as a single individual, I'm like, well, what am I going to do if I can't? I'm pushing and trying all I can, but I'm one person. But if I can go over here, it's a group of people who going to fight with me to believe in the same things I believe in. And that may not be good for you, but how are you going to say that to an individual that doesn't have a good grouping of people like we do with ATS and Miss Melinda, and knowing people who can do that? That's not running for them. That's actually flying. That's like that's a whole different concept. That's like literally jumping out in the air and going, something gonna catch me because I've had enough here and I can't do anymore. So who do you connect to if you didn't have a group like we did?
Well, just because you had enough doesn't mean you have to go anywhere.
Right, but there's people of color in that place too, and they have the same belief system that we have. So I can't sit here and talk about somebody, because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I got out of college, I was like, if my relationship don't work, I'm going to Britain. They're gonna give me schooling. They understood who I was culturally and never tried to tear down what I was culturally. They fed into what my beliefs were, never took and said, when I was like, I'm from Africa, my auntie's from Trinidad and Tobago, they never stripped her of that and said anything. So, you know where my aunt's been living for the last 40, 50 years? She's been living in England. And that's her
It
tribe.
doesn't matter where you go, though. You still gonna be.
Right, but that's the thing. It was easier for her to make an implant to be bigger. And that's the thing. The more you gather or you flock toward the people who make your grouping of who you are, should make a stronger infrastructure altogether.
Yeah, but running from it ain't gonna save you. Fighting
But
for it
how,
give
once
you
again,
more.
you're calling it running, and how is it running when you're finding your people? Like when
Unless
you're
it's financially a good thought, a good idea, it's no need to leave something that
But
So,
that's not financially good
sure.
for a single person. You're sitting here trying to make a single person struggle within themselves inside a system that's not working for them. When they found a system with people who accept them as they are, culture, don't appropriate them, make sure they respect their culture, and when they get there, they're able to do more there than they ever were here for the movement. Because the movement ain't just here in America.
Why can't we get it here though? Why can't we culturally change it, build our own banks, build a stronger rapport amongst each other?
How tell me how that's working.
I was just gonna say, well, what does that take actually?
Right.
What does that take with the U.S. systems, laws, and infrastructure? What does that take?
We have to build our own capital, technically.
How do you think you get to even build? Because there are permits, registrations, and a system and a structure that oversees that. The system is pervasive. There's no system that you somehow get to.
Right. There's no working outside of the law on that one. That's why I said for some people going further out and being in Africa, they can reach out and come back more than they could ever do if they stayed here.
Well, but there are communities. So during the Black Lives Matter, it was kind of a big deal, right? So there are communities of people who are buying land, mostly in the South that I heard of, pulling together and looking to potentially have, self-contained communities. So they want to find, all of that. Understand, though, that if anybody wanted to cut off the electricity or the water supply, they would be very easily able to do so because you don't own the infrastructure in this country. And that's all good and well and fine, but I don't view that as running. And I think that maybe if you left, you would be running because that's your mentality, right? That's how you feel. You feel like if I leave, I'm running. But I don't think that that's true because those people could feel like if you stay, you're wasting time.
Well, I have a question where if say like, when China people come to our country, they're given immunity, they're able to have businesses, able to get loans. Could we do the same thing going somewhere else to a whole nother country, or are we still ostracized in the same way?
No, there are repatriation programs,
Everywhere.
repatriation programs in multiple countries that you should know about those as a Black person.
That's
they literally have incentive packages for Black Americans to come back to Africa in multiple countries.
See, no one talks about that.
Right.
They do. You just gotta get in different circles. You talking to the people who want to fight and struggle.
Right. And that's why I was saying, like, I've known people like that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Britain, because they were willing to invest in what I thought was important. It wasn't, oh, you come here and you do such and such. Oh, what do you want to do when you get here?
So is that a thing? Is that a thing? Is that a thing to trade off currencies and go somewhere else and have a whole nother elaborate life?
Right.
Why can't you get that here though?
There's people, why can't you tell us?
You're telling us why we can't have it here. My thing about it is I've seen people go over there and they've worked in like Saudi Arabia, other countries, worked there for a few years and made what it would have took them a lifetime to work, come back and been able to establish what they want. There's other people that go and they create another community and have been able to be a bigger activist than there. I feel like this is why I said individual and group things are two different things. That's what you're doing for your individual personal. That may be a mental health thing. That may be all of the above. But just because you move there don't mean that you move away from your country. You can still support the movement here. Our countries are still tied together in some format, even though it's not a straight path. It's one of them wiggly lines to get back here. But to say that somebody's running, I think that's like
I mean, what do you say about like Josephine Baker and those guys who a lot of people fled to France? A lot of Black artists fled to France in years. Do you feel like they should have just stayed and fought? Or I mean, I guess I don't understand. Like everybody's path is different.
Here. They couldn't even do it here.
Right. Exactly.
Right. They wouldn't even let them get in the door, let alone get in the door. You couldn't get on the field to be able to do it, but they were able to go overseas and then come back and say, ha, look what I can do. And
and get their worldwide notoriety by having left. And I would argue that's probably still the same, right? Like you get some pennies and some crumbs here now, but you're not going to own that team. They have told you, they have spoken. I don't care how good you are. how popular you are. You're not getting this because it's a network. And to your point, I understand. I don't know why I was reading so many articles. I was just reading an article about Trump saying that the black attorney general, whomever it is, who said he had to testify in New York is racist. And so the article, it was an AP article, so Associated Press article, it was like very straightforward. It said, this is his regular white supremacist. It didn't say white supremacist, white fear tactic and trope that he used throughout that paved his road to the White House, that he continues to flame, that white people should be scared because black people inherently cannot be, even a judge cannot be impartial towards a white person. Not racism, we know what that is. That is not, doesn't make any sense for him to say that somebody is racist against him. But that's what you're contending with. At the end of the day, the system, first of all, nobody in their right mind, so it's human to not cede power when you have it, when you own it.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why we all kind of baffle ourselves when we think about what the hell happened in Africa. Like how did that happen that way? Right? Because you were in power. Like, how you let somebody take it? Right? So all that to say, we tend to be also more
in
human.
power here. We let somebody take it.
Who was in power here?
The original people of this continent.
Oh, the indigenous people. Yeah.
Yes, and we let somebody take it then.
Yeah, because people we're more humane. So you want to be helpful, and other people want to be take you right up out of here.
And then they bring the sickness with them. They move up on out of here. They get you for a 2-for-1.
That's how it happened in both places.
That's exactly how it happened. They was hitting
both places.
Right. They got them with one, and then
how was the history? How was our history so washed out? Just makes
it's not washed. They put it in there. They just use different. It's not. I mean, that part they tell you. I mean, I was in history class the other day, and they said it, and just kind of like Miss Melinda said, we saw the text messages, and you just had the Super Bowl anyway. That's what I mean. It's what happens because the greater majority of people aren't stepping in. Like Miss Melinda said, it's gonna take some other people to take a sacrifice, because that's not what people are understanding. At the end of the day, that's not what people are understanding. Miss Melinda was right. People gonna have to take a sacrifice that we take every time. They're gonna have to take it like their skin looks like this and take it every single time. And that's gonna be hard because you're gonna have to train yourself to be like literally taking pain in some sort, whether it be mental or physical, like emotional pain. And the thing about that is when you don't have to do that, who's going to do that every time?
But to be fair,
right,
others have to see that we're sold out to it too. Because why would you do something if you're not sold out to it? So I always think about like the bus boycotts. People walk to work. I don't care. We don't have that fortitude anymore.
So you say we won't have that mental capabilities of
we don't have the fortitude. It's just like
as a whole, like she's right, as a whole, I don't think
people walked. We are boycotting the buses, so
they
ain't
piled up with the one little bit of cars that they had with some of the people.
Yeah, carpool, walk, whatever you got to do, because how are you else going to accomplish the goal? If people are still watching the Super Bowl, going to the games, talking about the stuff, buying the paraphernalia, it doesn't make any sense.
So how do we accomplish the goal financially then if people are still watching?
That's why my answer was what it was when you first asked. There is no easy wand in talking about individualism. That's why people have to find the group that they can work with, because there is not this collectivism anymore. We used to have it. Of course, you went to a HBCU, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right? I did not. But there's a reason why we had HBCUs. And there's a reason why there's a conversation today about maybe we should just be in HBCUs, because maybe they were better for us mentally anyway. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why there's a conversation today about weren't we better off mentally and morally when we were segregated? There's a reason why those conversations exist.
Oh.
Because when you want to blend in and assimilate, then it doesn't benefit you as an individual to stand out, to push against the grain. So, maybe you need to start. Well, and I would argue, right, that these compounds that they're creating in the South and whatever, that's separatism.
Okay.
That's segregation again. So somebody clearly believes that that's going to be better, right?
Okay.
So
you mean somebody believes that's the way to go, or is that
that's going to be better for us? I mean, they're not saying they won't interact with the white people. They're not, but I mean, why? I mean, what are the Mormons?
Yeah.
They're allowed to live separately. Nobody bothers them.
They also can have more than one wife. So
yeah, but we're not talking about their practices. We're talking about what the state allows them to do, unencumbered. So, and it's working for them. They're able to maintain tradition. They are able to teach crafts and livelihood. They're good. In fact, they're better than most people. If this country's supply chain and all that shit shut down, they good because they have their own food supply. They have their own craftsmen.
So is Mormonism a nationality, or is that a religion?
It's a religion, but it's also a culture.
So you're saying there's no black culture for us or something? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying that clearly separatism and segregation has worked for them.
Well, there's Chinatowns, but there's no actual black town to go to. I guess the whole town is black. I mean, I don't know where I could say.
She's saying they respect their beliefs, though, to allow them to live in the way that they want to live. Not so much that it's a town; it's an actual presence of being. That if we lived within a town, like let's just take like Maryland for a place that, and they had the rules there, we could live in 30 different houses over the whole state, but we're all allowed to do and say the things that we believe because they're just underneath the law. That would mean that the things that we believe in and all that would have to become a law and be built within the infrastructure. That's the only other way is basically, and it would have to somewhat break other laws or change them. Wouldn't that be like precedents type situations?
Right now, you're trying to tell me we need to basically finance our own government. That's just the whole point to it.
How do you no, like
how do you finance a government when you have a government?
What I'm saying is with working it in, like the way she said Mormons, I think like another good one would be like Amish, because Amish don't pay taxes and stuff like that. Their laws have been institutionalized within the infrastructure in order to let them live the way they want.
I think I was actually thinking Amish, Miss Tatiana. Thank you for helping me. I was thinking of Amish.
Yeah. So the Amish are living the way they want. No, they do not all live together. They live in multiple land parts over the land, but they're allowed to live their life in the way that they believe, and they're not overbound by law because they've actually fought for that within the system. And imagine this, the Amish have less access to electronics and internet and things of that nature, and they actually have it. So we would have to build our laws within to actually change it, which is precedence when you get to the courthouse. That would be changing things that would allow us to be able to, one, live as we're supposed to live and get treated correctly as in everyone else.
I see. We need to talk about this some more.
Yeah, well, because I mean, I could do this.
No, I could
forever, because this is literally why I exist, and I have strong convictions when it comes to why. This topic, period. Like nothing is more important. So let me just also say this. Thank you. First of all, I'm talking about Mormons. I was really talking about the Amish, but and I always do that in my head. It's funny because when I say Mormon, I think Mitt Romney. So I don't know why. I don't know. I was like, wait,
the Mormons got something different than
yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to the wrong.
You could have helped me out earlier.
But you were right. Yes, the Amish. Like I do know that for a fact. That is a fact.
So here's the other piece, though. We are the only people, we black, foundational black is what I like to use. People here are the only people that get absolutely ridiculed and uh, uh, challenged and broken down for wanting to be with ourselves. That doesn't happen in any other culture. But you know why that is, right? You know why that is. Because what happens if we take away our dollar? We're the biggest consumers. Our dollar circulates 27 times or something ridiculous in these people's communities. We are the entertainment. We're the engine of this economic system, even though we're only 12%, 11% of the country. And I had this argument the other day with a person who buys Jordans or whatever, right? This stupid thing with the $1,000 shoes and whatever. The reality of the fact is, while we say we don't have any money and while we have no money, right, in the bank, a lot of times we as a people, generally speaking, somehow we figure out how to spend a whole bunch of money on shit that don't matter.
That's very true.
So the reality of the fact is that's important in this economy. So there is no benefit for the people who own things to support us doing our own thing. None. Zero. In fact, that will totally dismantle this economic system in this country.
Oh, wow.
Totally. So that's why conversations like this really you shouldn't even be having, because you get on lists and people start targeting you. I probably shouldn't even be talking like this, but I don't care. Because like you literally are threatening. It's kind of like the crypto thing, right? The reason crypto is so big is because it's threatening the economic system.
Right. And they want to break into it now.
They're going to break into it. You better know, because you don't own the system is the system.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You saying, why can't we? Because the system is the system. Like you're within the system.
Right.
So crypto, what you think they were going to have a mechanism that you can not get taxed on forever? And they was going, okay, well, why? They don't have to. They just going to write a law to make sure that you can't do that.
Goodness. Gotta get their hands in everything. You can't.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you mean. How they? When I talk about they, I'm talking about quote unquote the establishment, right? So the people who benefit from the systematic structural issues that we have.
The most.
Yes. They benefit. And so you have plenty of people who are the mental illness that they may not even look like, right? I could do this all day, okay? Because this is so like everything to me. People who look like us, but they want so bad to be a part of the community that is in control. And Oprah then told them. Oprah has told them, even for her billionaire networks and all of her accomplishments, there were rooms she couldn't go into.
Really?
You ain't hear that? That was years ago.
And she still can't, probably.
No, because she still look like us.
Right. You don't look right.
Y'all better stop that. So is that the equality? That's the inequality of it? Just because we're that color, we still can't get into these moves?
Everybody want to be us, but they don't want to be us.
Sick of hearing that. I swear I'm sick of hearing that. I don't even want to say how furious that I'm still having this talk in 20 millennial years. I can't believe it. It's still
You
going.
said you're furious, you're still having it. What do you think about your ancestors that never even got to see freedom? That so you can't be tired of having the conversation, or you can't think that 20 years is a long time. What about the people that came over on the boat?
I'm talking about how this is still have an approach of we have not done anything to change the distance or the attributes of this whole capabilities of how the world is treating us. Like,
who is we haven't?
All of us haven't done it. We haven't come together on anything to stop anything.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to say black people?
No, I don't.
Who are you talking about then?
The melanated man has not become
the melanated man. So colored people.
Yeah.
Okay. So I disagree with you. I think that there have been great strides made. It's just a different approach, right? And so
It's a
if nothing had been
split
done,
stride, though.
I'm sorry.
It's a split stride. They always put a person against another person, and there's never been a common one thing. It's always split 50-50. Somewhere else is either go with peace or go with violence. There's never been just go with one thing.
I don't know. I don't think you'd have to go with one thing anyway.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that different,
Hit them
you
from all
know,
angles, huh?
different ends that require different means.
Okay.
And I just think you need to be. I've always said this. Another thing I say that goes down in history is all the stuff I think about. I got to write this stuff down. Cody will be able to say at my funeral. My mom always said this. Um, the load is heavy, so just make sure you get under it. We can't all hold it in the same place. So you need politicians, you need blacksmiths, you need butchers, you need journalists, you need artists, you need engineers. What I need them to be is all on the ultimate same page. I don't need us to do the same thing. I need us to have the same ends. The means might be different. I mean, it has to be because we're different human beings. But what we lack is the end mean, a common end that we're going towards. And we lack it by design, right? Like I could do this forever. By design, the Willie Lynch syndrome is large and present still today, executed flawlessly. We're supposed to fight each other. We're supposed to value things that don't mean anything. I mean, I was just in a conversation about Black love for quote unquote Valentine's Day at a local Black food place that people would know. And there, there was a conversation around the welfare program, right? When Black men got taken out of the houses.
Okay.
By design. And then we sit around and talk about why Black families are broken and why so many Black women are by themselves. And if you can't acknowledge stuff like that, then you're part of the problem. Because that's the common end that I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what happened. Maybe it didn't happen in your one instance, but in general, overall, structurally, this is what happened. So now you have to counter that. You can't act like it didn't happen because then you'll never counter it. Mm-hmm. Critical race theory. For you educators.
Put it all in the right perspective right there. I can't wait to this next portion of the Unpopular Opinion Habits where we actually bring some guys in and get their perspectives on these women's point of view. It's going to be a nice segue onto understanding, both sides of the spectrum. It's not just hearing it from my side, it's actually hearing it from, every angle that a natural person really wants to hear. And we want to, feel the full effect of, coming from the common bond of each other, which is man and woman, and just seeing where we come together or we just disagree in all. So that's definitely going to be a fun way to understand how we just the equal, sides of both perspectives. It's not just the women's opportunity, but we'll give the men a little opportunity to segue themselves in. Also, I just want to definitely, say on this approach when it comes to being equal, changing the challenges amongst us is really hard to not fight anymore. And all I want to do is just be a fighter. I want to fight for a better self within me and everything around me. I want things to be better. So I want to walk out my house and just know that no one's looking at me different just because, I'm a different complexion from them. I actually want that to not be a problem, to actually be a better understanding of I might be great at something that I'm doing just because of who I am. It's just so real like that. It's just actually so real. So, in this unpopular opinion, I do want you ladies to talk a little bit about your businesses and who you are so people can understand why I call you, why I talk to you, why I get to know you. It's because who you are as people. You are my sisters, and I love you for just talking to me and just hearing what you have to say on this show. Your opinion is your opinion, and it's a true belief that you know what your opinion is. So, what about you, Miss Tatiana? Can you give me a little bit about your business?
All right, I am the owner of a More Blue. I make one of a kind jewelry. That's waist beads, necklaces, bracelets, body jewelry. I'm also an art creator and an art preserver and a seamstress. I can be found on Instagram, Facebook, Etsy, and I just put a link tree in that you can find any other place that my products can be ordered from. So come out and support.
I am Melinda Woods, a CEO and founder of Mental Massage, which is a um, amazing, amazingly necessary service that provides and helps women in leadership take themselves and put themselves first, and provide self care in different modalities, whether that is infrared sauna, acupuncture, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, therapy, breath work. The platform allows for you to pick and choose between those services. And it's so necessary in today's world for the topic we just talked about, for different challenges and biases that we have to go up against. I am also adding on some fierce finances, so you can take advantage of the program that allows you to use an Autobot to trade every night and just make profit off of money that otherwise would be sitting in the bank making you maybe $7 in a year. You can likely make $7 in 10 minutes and doing nothing, just in your sleep, just having the money in a different bank account, participating in this trading market. So I'm going to have that up on the platform as well. I love you too, Mr. B. So thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity to be on. This has definitely just been my opinion. I want to make that disclaimer. I don't represent any views here, and I'm operating outside of any official capacity I might have. Um, but this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Ah, that has been a good unpopular opinion. I see on that one. I am Stradivari. I just want to say tonight has been a very, very, sideways on just understanding who we are as people and what's happening to us and what's going around in this world. Let's look at the perspective on knowing what is actually happening to us. And if you don't know, bring yourself into the light. Let's just look at it like this. I have to have things to change. It will change. And I'm going to say this and bring it into the metaverse and the mexiverse. It will change because I have a chance to change it and you have a chance to change it. We need to be better lovers, better common knowledge within each other. We have to build a bond, and this bond has to be with the knowledge of finances on how we can build and make our communities better, make our own communities, build our own businesses. The time is now. It's to stop all of the complaining. What has happened, and it's time to actually build something better than what the system has already broken. That is the normal truth of what I'm trying to give you. Let's build together. Let's make every aspect of this world acknowledge that me and you are bonding. So, ladies, these bonds that we have is like no other. I'm telling you, I love this bond that we have, and I feel y'all. I feel y'all. I feel y'all. This unpopular opinion has been brought to you by the ATS. And as I can say, we're going to have a good one. But before tonight, we have a good one. We're just going ahead and start the party off right. This has been an unpopular opinion. You ladies, thank you so much. Have a great one.
On the unpopular opinion, we have author of Surviving Tough Times, Misunderstood Adrian, entrepreneur, Miss Amor Blue Tatiana, owner of Mental Massage Melinda, your host Stradivari on the unpopular opinion. So let me ask you, ladies, we're going to talk about the Shakari Richardson and the Olympic equalities of Olympic sports on the ATS TV.
Have a good one. Equality. Let's build it. Love you.